Hi everybody, so you already know, it's Rochelle. I decided to make a video that I will share the link to, but I will be keeping it, I think it's called unlisted, not private, because I'm not trying to bash or badmouth or anything like that, but I know that people have questions and I want to be able to talk with each one of you, but I know it's going to take a long time, and I don't know, I like to speak my own truth and not have maybe the murmurs of people doing that or taking matters into their own hands. So I know there are a lot of questions of why on earth did I choose to step away from ICOC. It's not a very quick answer, so bear with me for a few minutes. The back history is I came into the church and I studied for about a year because, I don't know, I'm hard-headed. I have a lot of questions. I'm not necessarily hard-headed, I can be, but I have a ton of questions and I like to know, and I see life in pictures, and so that reminds me of this. And now looking back, I was probably so annoying because I was like, oh, do you know what I just thought of? You know, and so ask the girls who I studied with. That was pretty much my studies. And I was always sharing, and I didn't realize that there's a series, there's a lesson that they're trying to teach me. I didn't know that. I thought we were just getting together, which is actually something I do differently when I study the Bible with people, is I let them know there's a step-by-step, so you know the framework of what this is about and what we believe, and then you can make an informed decision. Your studies don't stop there, but for the purposes of this series, that's what we're doing. And so I like to make people, because Wes had the same type of fuss, I guess. So anyway, I studied the Bible for about a year. During my studies, I was attending Healing Grace at the Vances. It was an amazing class. I just loved it. It was so good for me and helped me connect. I learned so many things that I still use today. And I was really involved in that, just taking it in and, you know, all of that. And then I guess I got baptized at some point. I was still attending Healing Grace. But then my father died maybe 2 years in or something, because I don't know what year it was. But anyway, my father died and I was down so low. I've shared all that before on my work page, and I was just down so low. He died of suicide, right? And because he wasn't in my life, I didn't know that I was allowed to feel it, because I hadn't been taught that I was allowed to feel things. So it was new, even going to Healing Grace and being able to say things out loud, or even studying the Bible like the Sin Study. Just being able to say stuff out loud was new for me, because I didn't grow up with the awareness that we're allowed to talk about feelings. So anyway, father died and I was down so low. Obviously, that's when I started going to grief recovery. I started my first 8-week course. And that first 8-week course, I was like, I wasn't even, it was maybe the first week, maybe the first class. It might have been the first phone call for information, but it was definitely after my first class. Oh my gosh, we all need this type of stuff. And the reason I knew that so many of us needed this, because I'd been in Healing Grace. I knew that we're in this amazing body of people, but that we're hurting, that we have different things from our past that are affecting our today, that other people's past stuff is affecting us today, and that we're responding in different ways from old hurts. Like, this stuff from Healing Grace had set the stage for, oh my gosh, we are part of the church, but we're hurting and we need something. And so what I liked about grief recovery is that it was much deeper, actually, but it was focused action work of how do I get some of that stuff I found in Healing Grace or even through grief recovery. It was, how do I get that out of the way? Because I could see, after doing the work and taking these action steps from the grief recovery class, I could see how it was all that stuff, all my experiences and the pain connected to them was creating this buffer between God and I. And the more work I did, the class itself was 8 weeks, but then I went back every week. Sharon, Sharon Brubaker is my specialist, my personal specialist. So I went back to her every week and just was like tearing old stuff out of the way, because grief recovery is very strategic and specific on showing you how to find your little spots where poison is sitting from years past of unresolved grief. and how to remove it so that we can actually begin to heal and feel differently on the inside, and how that brings us closer to ourself, like lining up and connecting with ourself, but then how that's valuable in connecting with Christ, and then how that's valuable because we can connect with others on a better and deeper level, right? So it was all about like, I see how I need this, but I see other people who need this too, because I've been with so many people in Healing Grace, and different people from different ministries, or not just different ministries, but different home churches, you know, like Turning Point or different places. They came to Healing Grace. I mean, this is a far-reaching problem. To me, I connected immediately with, this is a human problem. It's not just a Rochelle Jones problem. So I could see, as I was tearing pieces out of my heart that were not serving me well, how I was able to understand or see God in newer and stronger and deeper ways. And I knew I wasn't the only one. And so for the last 4 years, that's when I went my first class. And then I spent a year of like, just, you know, personal work. And then I spent like, starting my 3rd year of business, I think, or maybe my 4th year, I'm not sure, but it's been about 3 to 4 years of hardcore, we've got to do this, we got to do this. And so the women's days, you know, I would write on the notes of, this is what we need, we've got to do this, I need help getting this in, and like talking with anyone who would listen, and becoming really quite obnoxious. It was the only thing I could talk about for the first 2 years. And then I realized I need to calm down. I'm just going to annoy people. And so, because I wanted people to see what I could see, which I don't have some magical ability, I was just given some really cool tools that helped me get deeper inside of myself to get more stuff out. I had to be aware of it, and then it showed me how to heal it, so I could be closer with God, which helps me be closer and more bold with the people around me. And how do I make disciples if I can't really see that, and if I'm stuck in you know, almost like arrested and held prisoner, held captive by all my fears and the what if, what are they going to think, and well, what's going to happen, and what's that going to feel like, and I don't know. I was held back. And so I keep going. The last 2 years especially, just, we've got to do this, we've got to do this, somebody help me, somebody help me, somebody hear me. And I felt like I wasn't being heard. I felt, you know, I have the individual people who will almost secretly come to receive help. A lot of them are already at their wits' end, you know, and feeling like the church isn't hearing me, the church isn't hearing me. I think it's just because the church didn't know how, not because they're bad people. And so then we're losing people left and right. And so I've been talking about this, but I feel like the amount of people getting baptized, our numbers should be bigger. But what I'm seeing is that people are falling out the back door just as quickly as we're bringing new ones in. But I feel like we should be helping these people before they fall out the back door. But they're our family too, and it's not just, oh well, they fell into sin. It's no, there's something in there weighing them down, that they feel like they don't measure up, they can't measure up, they just, for whatever reason, they're falling back. And we got to worry about, Wes uses the word attrition. We need to figure out how to nurture and help people to prevent them from falling. And because this is just humans. I mean, I don't know about you, but January, early February of 2019, I've been working my booty off with all these grief recovery tools, and I still found my marriage hurting so bad, just for different reasons, doing ridiculous amounts of grief work. Like, I've done more grief work than almost anybody I've ever met. Sharon Brubaker is the only one I know of. There's one other specialist who were all three kind of similar. And the amount of personal completion work, and that third person, by the way, belongs to Turning Point. So we've done a sickening amount of recovery work, and we can see among us how that helps us grow closer to Christ, right? But I felt unheard. I felt as though my drive to help my brothers and my family get closer and deeper with Christ. Come on, guys, we could do it. Nobody was hearing me. And I started to become discouraged, and I've done all the different grief work I could do. And if you're familiar with grief work, this would make sense to you. And if you're not, that's okay. But I've completed my relationship with God several times. Like, God, I don't understand, you know, and walked through that several times. and also repeatedly since then. But I've completed my relationship with God. I've completed with different people in the church, with the church itself, just like all these different ways I could think of to get the junk out of my heart so it doesn't build up and grow bitter. But meanwhile, I am feeling unheard. I am feeling unloved. And like I said, people were individually coming to me, but kind of secretly. And so my charge, my heart has been, we've got to change the culture, because if we tell people, we're sort of like humans holding the sword called the Bible. Well, that's not good. That's not what was intended. If we tell them the Bible is all you need, I absolutely agree with you, but we're talking about humans who don't have the ability, because of the pain and the bumpers and the buffers, the experiences that have pulled them away. They weren't born this way. No human is born this way. It's through pain and experience that we create buffers and bumpers. We trust a little less. We get a little less close to people. We let people in a little bit less, and we're doing it with God too in different ways. And so I could see so much how we just, we need this work to get ourselves out of the way. I agree that the Bible is all we need, but we do have a whole book table full of ways to help us get deeper and closer, right? And so this is the same. It's just a very action-oriented plan, and it works. It's scientifically proven. It's not changed in over 40 years. What's changed is, guess what? We found a way that we can still do the same action steps in 4 days. Oh, guess what? We found that we can do it online. Oh, guess what? We're still getting good results if we crunch it up into 2 long days. So the actual method hasn't changed. In over 40 years, that's why it's the only scientific based, it's proven to be effective to get ourselves out of the way, to get our wounds and get our pain out of the way so that we can be closer in whatever capacity we need to be, to ourselves, to each other, to God, whatever. It doesn't matter though, where you are. It's just to get yourself out of the way. If you think of like pain, when someone hurts your feelings or something doesn't go quite right, or you look back at your childhood and think that I would have done that a little bit differently. Every time you experience one of those things, it's like we all wear glasses, but we put a colored film, and we don't notice it. We don't notice it until eventually we've got these big, thick film on our glasses, and that's what we see life through. And we don't realize that it can be different until somebody shows us, no, guys, there are lenses that are thinner, and I'll show you how to get yours there. You know, we don't know that. And so I've just been wanting to help and be different. And through leadership, you know, those January leadership things, I would put this prayer request and never hear a word. Never hear a word. It was very painful for me. It's very frustrating. So I go to church and I hear the sermons of the Bible is all you need and God is all you need. Please help me understand then why we have a book table with all these books on it. Why do we read a book together at the beginning of every year? Why do we all do Dave Ramsey? If we're just lining up with the Bible, then why do we need Dave Ramsey? Why do we need each other? Well, that's kind of extreme. I don't mean to say that. But why do we need Arbonne? Why do we need the gym? We should just not be lusting after food. We should just not be depriving ourselves of food. We should just be nourishing ourselves just expertly. Why do we need perfect skincare? I mean, if we keep our energy low and keep everything, you know, just perfect. Do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense to me. And so I hear messages through, okay, I know that person is going through stuff, even if they've never been in my class. I know they're going through X, Y, and Z, and oh shoot, that sermon is gonna tear them up. That's gonna push them away from God. And then I hear the sermon through this person. Again, even if they've never been in my class, I know a piece of their story. People tell me parts of their story all the time, whether they're in my class or not. I don't know why. Maybe they feel safe. I don't know. So I could hear, oh shoot, that's gonna, oh dang it. And that's how I hear every sermon of, oh shoot, that's gonna hurt this person. I know that they're being beat up and backed into a corner unintentionally, but I was hoping to help it be different. I don't want people to be feeling isolated and backing into a corner, because you know, we're low. Like I said, at the beginning of 2019, about February, I was looking at how I kill myself. I had an absolute plan. I was hurting so much. Me, with all my tools and all my recovery, I had a plan of checking out of this life. I had a plan of, you know what, I talked myself out of that. That was the demon inside of me. I knew I talked myself out of, my kids don't need me. Peyton's fine. Danny's fine. I had this plan. And I don't know why the Spirit swooped in the way that it did and didn't let that one moment happen that needed to happen for me to finalize the deal, you know? I don't know why. That was around February. I did intense grief work. Something spoke out to me and said, Rochelle, you've got to do this one piece and I need you to focus on this. And I did. And that was everything. It was gone. It was gone. That I was going to kill myself 2 days ago was like, oh, shoot, how'd I get there? Right? Because it was gone. That's the power of grief recovery. And why do I think that's important? Because I can see how we need Christ. And so this happened to coincide with another person who's also decided to pause their time at church. You know, that's up to them to share. It just coincided with their experience. It's not connected, other than I could see what was happening. And I could see how all the different people had their feelings hurt. And I could see how I would talk with people. Have you shared that? Have you talked with the person about that? You know, if you do this, it could be really beneficial. I would talk with all the different people. Almost no one heard me. Almost no one did anything about it. So I'm watching the divide and the division grow, and it was awful. I could see how in so many ways we weren't lining up with the Bible. I saw gossip going on and slander and people coming up with their own ideas without asking questions. I saw people just tearing each other apart. And that is not what I see in the Bible. I want to be so closely living all of the Bible, which means tearing off everything that hinders. Well, all of my old junk and all my filters that I've built up are hindering me, and they're hindering you too. And I wanted so much for something to be different. So after, you know, this has been growing, the talks, the intensity, the focused talks and time, and nobody's heard me. Nobody's heard me. I think very, very recently there have been talks on the back end that weren't brought to my awareness that, oh, well, maybe we'll consider this. I don't want to waste any more time. We don't know when Christ is coming, and how prideful am I to think that I have time to wait. So I stopped waiting. After the Saugus shooting, nobody called me for assistance on how do we help our kids? How do we not? And it hurt my feelings. Not only did it hurt my feelings, I'm fine. I've been having my feelings hurt. But to watch how it could have been damaging to our children, to watch what I saw, which is not important, but that was the final straw for me, personally, of I'm not going to be heard here. And I'm not going to watch the people be misled and hurt and drug across burning hot coals when I know it can be different. And that was not easy, because I know I'm hurting people. I know I'm hurting relationships, but I did not choose God. I chose to live God closer and deeper in a way that I see lines up with the Bible. So I still am doing church. I'm still meeting with a body of people on Sundays and on Tuesdays, but I'm running it heart-centered. Not I'm running it, but I'm doing it heart-centered, because we can't take the human heart, spirit, soul out of the picture if we're talking about Jesus, who is heart, soul of God. So that's where I am. That's what I'm doing. This is not because I don't love people. This is because I deeply love people. And I love them so much that I can't, I'm literally physically ill a lot of times when I leave, because I know how it was hurting that person. I know how it must have landed on that person. Oh, shoot. I'm praying for a spirit of change, cultural shift, and that we go hardcore after all parts of the Bible, not just making new disciples. We're told to ignore ourselves to serve others. I did not see that in Jesus. He would take breaks. He would go off alone. He would go pray. And that's what I want to see, that we find ourselves valuable too. We're God's children. We have to nourish ourselves. And that means not only time to feed ourselves, but time to get the poison out so we can be a healthier body for Christ. And that's what I'm after. That's my focus. That's what I'm doing. And I don't want people to join me, because that's not their conviction. It's mine. This is me. This is where I am. And again, this isn't because I don't love people, because I love each one of you dearly. I work hard to know the different people who make up our body. But at the same time, I can't do it at the expense of myself. I have kids I need to raise. I can't be a light when I'm feeling, I don't know, snuffed, burned, singed. And not even just from my own experience, because I'm hoping for something different. I'm hoping for Christ to be able to fully take hold of your heart, of my heart. I need people who are willing to hold me to that standard, and I want people who want me to hold them to that standard as well. And I don't want to cheapen that. Christ gave everything. I see him hanging on the cross. I see him bleeding. I see him just beaten, and I picture swollen eyes. I picture the shame of like basically hanging there naked. How his friends left him. I don't know about you, but that hurts me. And I don't want to make that smaller than what it is. I want the whole Bible to be lived and to put into practice. And that's what I'm doing. So I hope that helps you. I hope that clears up any questions. That's not actually because any one person. It's not because anyone else's experience. It's because of my own. It's just the way that I hear the Bible, and the way that I feel like I need to go after Christ. And I won't step away from that. Now, somebody's welcome to tell me that I'm wrong through scripture, and I'm okay with that. I love talking with people. Please let me know where you think I'm messing up, because I'm a total mess up. I'm such a mess up all the time. But I don't want to just keep messing up, and I want people who will stand up. And if there's something inside of you that doesn't feel like you can stand up to someone and just call them out, that's probably because there's some unresolved grief inside of you. But we've got to be willing to fight for Christ the way that he fought for us, to our best possible capacity, which is going to change over time. But denying ourselves and telling us to ignore our emotions, I think that's how the Spirit communicates with us. And I think that we're in trouble if we want to deny that in any way. If we just demand obedience, I didn't see Christ do that. He wants our heart. And we've got to get the stuff out of the way that prevents us from letting him in all the way, that prevents us from going with him all the way too. So I hope that helps you all understand where I am, that I am not leaving God. Are you kidding? The whole reason I'm taking a break, a permanent break, is because I want to go deeper and further for Christ than I ever thought possible. And I want to be so inspired by Christ to live more and more and more like Christ, that I inspire others to do the same, because of what I am, because of what I do, because of what I say and think and breathe, not because of what I learned. I want to use what I've learned with what I've experienced and combine the two to celebrate the unique wisdom that God thought it was good to give me. And wisdom is combining what I know with what I've lived, and being able to sit with this and apply what I know and see how that works. It's unique, just like me. God knows every hair on my head. He knows every cell that makes up my liver, every cell that makes up my eyes and my color. And I don't want to take that for granted. And that's me. So this is just me. This is just my story. This is just my heart and my conviction. And I want to share that with you, because I want you to know that I love you with my whole heart so much. But I have to live my life for Christ, connected to me. And I hope that helps. It may and it may not. But know that I was thinking of you anyway. And I wanted to share it. So I love you all, and I'll talk with you next time. Bye, everybody.